You never think it'll be you. You hear stories, read the posts, watch the videos. I caught her lying. He cheated with my best friend. I thought we had a perfect life. But somehow, you always think you are the exception. You believe in your love story. You trust the way she smiles when your eyes meet, the way she says your name. You never imagine the day will come when you'll look at her and feel nothing but cold. But my name is Noah. I'm 32 years old, and up until 6 months ago, I thought I was married to the love of my life. Her name's Emily. We met when I was 24 and working my first real job after college, a mid-tier marketing agency in Charlotte. She was in sales. She wore blazers that looked like they cost more than my rent, and heels that clicked like thunder through the office hallway. I was smitten the second I heard her laugh. She didn't look at me at first, but I was patient. I wasn't flashy or loud, but I listened. I remembered the little things, her favorite coffee, her dog's name, the movie she said she cried at as a kid. Over time, I think she realized that I wasn't like the other guys chasing her. We started dating after a company happy hour. She kissed me first. From that night on, I was all in. Emily had this magnetism about her. She could walk into a room and make everyone feel like they mattered, like she saw something in you that no one else did. And when she turned that light on me, man, I felt like I could move mountains. We moved in together after a year. Got married 2 years later. The wedding was perfect. I mean that. Simple, elegant, outdoors under a huge oak tree in early fall. My brother was my best man. Her sister cried through the whole ceremony. Emily looked like something out of a dream, and when we said our vows, I believed every word. I will love you. I will choose you. Every day. But she stopped choosing me, long before I realized it. Looking back, the signs were there. They always are. You just don't see them until the pieces are already shattered on the floor. It started small. She got distant. At first, I chalked it up to stress. Her job was demanding. Her mom got sick for a while. But then came the excuses. I'm staying late. Q3 reports are due. Dinner with the team. It's kind of mandatory. He's just a client, Noah. Stop being so insecure. And the thing is, I wasn't insecure. Not at first. I trusted her. Blindly. But something changed after that night. We were supposed to go to dinner. A place we hadn't been in years. I made reservations. Bought flowers. Even ironed a shirt, which anyone who knows me will tell you is serious effort. She canceled last minute. Something came up at work. She texted, "I'm so sorry." No call. No FaceTime. Just a text. She came home late. Way past midnight. I was still up, pretending not to be waiting, watching the seconds crawl by on my phone. When she walked in, she was flushed. Lipstick smudged. Her hair up in that messy bun she only did when she wanted to look casually irresistible. "I'm exhausted," she said, brushing past me. "Can we not do this right now?" I said nothing. I just watched her walk into the bedroom and close the door. That was the first night I felt it, that gut-deep chill, like something was quietly dying in the room with us. 2 weeks later, I saw the jacket. I was loading groceries into her car. She had driven my truck that day, so I took hers. As I opened the backseat door, I saw it, a jacket that didn't belong to either of us. Black leather, fitted, too small to be mine, too masculine to be hers. At first, I froze. I just stared at it. Then I picked it up. Inside the pocket, a movie stub. Thursday night, 8:45 p.m. She told me she had a late call with her West Coast client that night. I didn't confront her right away. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still wanted to believe it was nothing. A friend's jacket, a borrowed coat, a harmless explanation. But the truth was already unraveling. Over the next month, I became someone I didn't recognize. I started checking her texts when she left her phone unattended, scanning her email, watching her eyes for flickers of guilt. And every day, the distance grew. She kissed me less. She laughed less. She touched me only when she wanted something. And I became quieter. I stopped asking, stopped hoping. I started to prepare for the worst. And then one night, it came. She said she had a business trip. Just a quick weekend out of town. A client conference in Raleigh. She packed a bag, kissed me on the cheek, and left. But something told me to check. So I did. I used to find my app. She never turned off location sharing, probably forgot, or didn't care, or never imagined I'd check. She wasn't in Raleigh. She was 12 minutes from our house. At a hotel. I don't know how long I stood there, staring at the screen. My hand shaking, my heart in my throat. Part of me wanted to pretend I hadn't seen it. Just close the app. Forget it. But the other part? The part of me that had been quietly dying for months? It wanted to know. So I drove. The hotel was nicer than I expected. One of those boutique places with string lights in the courtyard and a wine bar in the lobby. I'd passed it a dozen times, never thinking much of it. It sat quietly at the edge of downtown like a secret no one wanted to tell. And now, apparently, it held mine. I parked down the street, didn't want to risk valet, didn't want to explain who I was. Not yet. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel, my chest tight, like I'd been holding my breath since the second I saw that dot on the map. Her car was there. I recognized the plates. Room 412. That's what the front desk clerk said when I walked in, pretending to be a delivery guy. A pizza box, and a lie go a long way if you say it with confidence. Room 412. Top floor. Take the elevator to your left. I took the stairs. I didn't know what I was going to do when I got there. Didn't even know if I'd knock. Maybe I just wanted to hear voices through the door. Maybe I needed to see it for myself. I reached the 4th floor. The hallway was quiet. Dim lighting. Thick carpet. No noise. Room 412 was near the end. I walked slowly. And then I saw it. The door was slightly open, and I saw a jacket. The same one I found in her car. Draped over the doorknob. That's when the shaking started. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was something worse. Confirmation. I stood there for a long time. My hand hovering near the doorknob. My breath shallow. My thoughts loud. There were voices inside. Laughter. Faint music. A man's voice I didn't recognize. Low, smooth, comfortable. And hers. Lighter than it had been in months. She sounded like herself. Like the version of her I hadn't seen in so long. Like the Emily I fell in love with. The Emily who used to sneak me love notes in my laptop bag and dance in the kitchen barefoot while the coffee brewed. And suddenly, that's what broke me. Not the betrayal. Not the lies. But the sound of her giving her joy to someone else. I didn't knock. Didn't scream or make a scene. I just turned around and left. Because in that moment, I realized something far worse than betrayal had happened. She wasn't mine anymore. She hadn't been for a long time. I drove home in silence. No music. No words. Just the low hum of streetlights passing over my windshield and the quiet chaos in my head. I sat in the driveway for almost an hour before going inside. I didn't cry. Not yet. My body was too numb for that. Instead, I poured a drink and opened my laptop. I started writing. Not to her. Not to him. To myself. I wrote down every red flag. Every moment I ignored. Every excuse I believed. Because I needed to remember this pain. Not to wallow in it. To grow from it. Because the man who walked into that hallway was gone. He'd been dying quietly for months. And now he was buried. What rose from those ashes? Someone new. Someone dangerous. Someone patient. I wasn't going to scream or break things or beg. I was going to take everything back and make them regret. The next morning, I made a pot of coffee, packed her things into boxes, and left them in the garage. No note. No explanation. She came home around noon, wearing the same dress from the night before. Hair tousled. Lips stained with leftover lipstick. When she saw me sitting at the kitchen table, her smile faltered. "Noah," she said softly. "You're here." I nodded. She looked around, confused, maybe surprised, maybe scared. "You weren't supposed to be home today." "I canceled my plans," I said calmly. "Thought we could talk." Her eyes darted to the counter, the empty coffee cup, the silence between us. Then she saw the boxes through the window. "Noah, wait." You don't have to explain," I said, standing up. "I know." A pause. "Know what?" I laughed. Just once. It wasn't funny, but it was the only thing that made sense. Everything, Emily. I know everything. And for the first time since I met her, she didn't have anything to say. Not a lie. Not an excuse. Just silence. I walked past her, grabbed my keys, paused at the door. "You can stay the night if you need, but I want you gone by tomorrow." "Noah, please. It's not what it looks like." I turned to face her. "Then you should have been more careful with the jacket." Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I closed the door behind me, and for the first time in months, I exhaled. People talk about heartbreak like it's an explosion, but that's not how it was for me. The worst part? You blame yourself for not noticing sooner. Emily didn't leave the next day. She cried, begged, pleaded, said all the things you'd expect. It was a mistake, but I didn't raise my voice. I didn't scream. I'd already said goodbye. She just hadn't heard it yet. I let her stay the night. One more night. One more lie to make the next goodbye easier. And then I left. I didn't tell her where I was going. I just picked up my laptop, my toothbrush, and my old college duffel bag and drove. No destination, just distance. Because staying in that house felt like sleeping in a crime scene. I crashed at a friend's place, Tyler. Forever loyal. Always the first to say, "I told you so," but smart enough not to say it out loud. He didn't ask questions when I showed up at his door just before midnight with tired eyes and a 1,000-yard stare. "Guest room's yours," he said. "You want to talk? I'm here. You want silence? I'm better at that." We sat in silence. It was perfect. The days that followed were a blur. She texted, "A lot. Please talk to me. We can fix this. I don't know who I am without you." It wasn't just about him. I was lonely. "You were always working. Please, Noah, don't shut me out." But ghosts don't text back. And that's what I had become to her. A ghost. Cold and silent. Not after everything. Not after him. Whoever he was. Coworker, client, gym buddy. I didn't care. All I knew was that he walked into my life and left me screaming inside. And Emily? She let him. It wasn't just the affair. It was the performance. The months she spent pretending. The nights she kissed me and whispered, "I love you," with someone else's fingerprints still fading on her skin. She played house with me while living another life in hotel rooms and locked screens. And the worst part? She was good at it. So good that even now, part of me still wanted to believe her when she cried. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just break you. It rewires you, makes you question what was ever real. I started therapy, Tyler's idea. "I'm not saying you're broken," he told me. "But if someone dropped a brick on your foot, you'd go to a doctor, right?" "This is the same thing," he said. "Just higher up." So I went. First session was awkward. I didn't know where to start. Sat in a chair that felt too soft, stared at a woman with kind eyes and a notepad. When she asked, "Why are you here?" all I said was, "Because the person I loved most treated me like I was disposable." She didn't speak for a while, just nodded. That was the first time I cried. Meanwhile, Emily kept reaching out. I blocked her number after the first week, but I left the email open. Not because I wanted to hear from her, but because part of me wanted to study her words, like they held clues to how someone so close could turn so cold. And that was the moment I understood something ugly. This wasn't about love. She needed to feel wanted. And when my love stopped being shiny and new, she looked elsewhere, not because I wasn't enough, but because she didn't know how to feel full without someone filling her. I started building my life back in small pieces, one new routine at a time. Waking up early, going for walks, cooking actual meals instead of just eating frozen junk. I stopped checking her socials, stopped rereading the texts, stopped wondering if she missed me. It didn't matter anymore. I was still breathing, still here, and that was enough. Then, one day, Tyler walked in holding his phone. "You might want to see this," he said, his face pale. It was a photo. Emily, at a downtown wine bar, sitting across from him, their hands touching on the table, smiling like people who never broke anything. There was a ring on her finger. Not mine. There's a special kind of sting when the person who broke you moves on like you were never real. It's not just pain, it's humiliation. I stared at the photo Tyler handed me for a long time. Emily, her hair longer, her smile brighter, her hand resting gently on his. And there it was, clear as daylight, a diamond ring on her left hand. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw the phone across the room. I felt the burn rise up in my chest. Not just anger, but something heavier, something hollow. Because I realized she had never once looked back. Tyler sat down across from me, quiet. He wasn't a comfort guy, more the type who showed support by just being nearby. No platitudes, no pity, just presence. That was enough. I handed the phone back. "Did you know?" I asked. He shook his head. "No. A buddy sent it. Said he thought I should know before you saw it online." "Online?" "Of course." I pulled out my phone, typed her name into the search bar, and there it was. We said yes. Her latest post. A filtered photo of her and him, wine glasses raised, her ring front and center. The caption was full of emojis and hashtags. Hashtag my forever. Hashtag second chances. Hashtag love always wins. And then the worst part. Life doesn't always go how you planned. Sometimes, it takes a detour to bring you home. Home. I felt like vomiting. She made it sound like I was a layover on the way to something better. Like our years together. Our vows, our memories, our promises were just a mistake she had to survive before finding her real love. I closed the app, sat in silence, and for the first time, I wasn't sad. I was focused, because now it was clear. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. And she wasn't done hurting me. The next few days, I disappeared into planning. Not out of spite, not out of obsession. I'd spent months bleeding quietly, rebuilding myself in the shadows. Now, it was time to stop surviving. It was time to respond. You see, what Emily didn't know was that during those quiet weeks when she thought I was falling apart, I had been documenting everything. The jacket, the texts, the emails, the hotel GPS, the photo from that night, even the audio recording I made of our last conversation, the one where she admitted to everything, thinking she was just being honest. I kept it all, not because I wanted revenge, not then, but because I needed proof, something to hold on to in a world that felt unreal. Now, it was more than proof. It was power. Here's what I knew. She cheated while we were still married. She moved in with him less than 3 weeks after we separated. She never filed for divorce. I did. And now, she was publicly engaged, pretending her past didn't exist. But here's what she didn't know. I had friends in common with him. I had contacts from my time in marketing, and I had nothing left to lose. Step 1. I reached out to someone from her old office. A guy named Julian, quiet, always kept to himself, but hated drama. I remembered once, over drinks, Emily called him a walking HR violation. He never forgot it. I messaged him. We grabbed coffee. He didn't like Emily. Never had. When I told him what had happened, without embellishment, just facts, he leaned back in his chair, shook his head, and said, "She told everyone you cheated." I blinked. What? That's the story. You had someone else. That's why she left. Said you were emotionally abusive, too. Controlling. Classic stuff. I felt the blood drain from my face. That was the final confirmation I needed. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't regret. This was slander, with a smile. So I made a choice. I spent the next 2 weeks creating a digital folder. I called it Truth. Inside, timeline of events, backed by screenshots. The recorded conversation with Emily, timestamped. The photo of the mystery man's jacket. Email receipts. My finalized divorce papers, filed before their relationship became public. And one email I'd been saving from the HR department at her old company. An anonymous tip about a possible ethics breach between a client and an account manager. Guess who the client was? I didn't release it to the public. I'm not that cruel. But I sent it, anonymously, to 2 people. Her boss at her new firm. His fiancé's ex-girlfriend. Yep, found her through mutual acquaintances. I didn't need to ruin her life. I just needed to shine a light on the truth and let the consequences walk themselves through the door. A week later, her engagement post disappeared. 2 weeks later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she had been let go from her new job. And as for him, his ex didn't stay quiet. She shared everything in a post of her own. It went viral. But that wasn't the end. What came next was something I never expected. But let's get back to the current situation. I didn't smile. Not right away. But that night, as I sat on Tyler's porch, sipping a drink and staring up at the stars, I felt something close to peace. Not because they suffered, but because I didn't let them bury me quietly. I stood back up and made sure the truth echoed louder than their lies. Some people think revenge is loud, but I learned something different. Revenge, real revenge, is quiet. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't ask for attention. It waits. And when it arrives, it doesn't knock. It simply replaces the version of you they thought would never recover. After the engagement post vanished, the air around everything changed. No calls, no emails, not even a passive-aggressive, "I hope you're happy" message. Just silence. And I knew exactly what that meant. She knew. Maybe she didn't know how. Maybe she didn't know who had exposed her. But the walls had started to cave in, and she recognized the fingerprints. She just didn't expect them to be mine. Tyler noticed it too. "You've been different," he said one night while we were grilling on his back porch. "Different how?" I asked. "Quieter. Not like depressed quiet. More like focused. Like a guy who just stopped carrying dead weight." I thought about that. He wasn't wrong. I had stopped checking for updates, stopped caring what people thought. One messaged me late at night. "Hey, I'm so sorry I believed her. If I had known the full story." Another said, "She told us you were manipulative, that you never let her breathe. I feel like an idiot now." I never replied, because it was never about clearing my name. It was about reclaiming myself. The people who mattered didn't need proof. The people who didn't weren't worth saving. And still, I kept quiet. No social media rants. No cryptic quotes or dramatic status updates. Just silence. Because here's the thing they never tell you. Silence unnerves people more than shouting ever could. It makes them wonder what you know, what you've done, what's coming next. It makes them fill in the blanks. And the truth is always louder inside their heads than anything you could have said. 3 months passed. I got a new job, different city, different rhythm, different people. I rented a place downtown, a small studio with big windows and no shared memories. Fresh start, not because I was running, but because I had finished something. The old life, that chapter was over, burned, buried, and now just ashes and a story only I could tell. Then, one afternoon, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text. A real letter, envelope, handwriting, return address. It was from her, Emily. My first instinct was to throw it away. But something in me, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, opened it. Inside, Noah, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I had to try. I owe you more than an apology. I owe you honesty. I don't know what happened to me. I don't recognize the person I became. I lost something I didn't understand until it was gone. I miss the quiet safety of our mornings. I miss you. I know you probably hate me. You should. But please believe me when I say I never meant to hurt you the way I did. I destroyed something beautiful. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want you to know. I love you. Signed, Emily. I folded the letter, placed it in the back of a drawer I rarely open, and stood at my window. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I didn't feel much of anything, because by then, I had already moved on. It was a Thursday. Gray skies, light drizzle, and the kind of wind that makes you pull your jacket a little tighter around your shoulders. I came to the coffee shop, few blocks from my new apartment, a cozy, tucked-away place with cracked leather chairs and acoustic music playing low in the background. I liked it because nobody knew me there, and I needed that. I just wrapped a call when I looked up and saw her. She was sitting by the window, one hand curled around a chipped ceramic mug, the other scribbling something into a worn notebook. Dark hair tied up, glasses slipping down her nose. She looked peaceful. I must have looked too long, because she caught me. We made eye contact. She raised an eyebrow. I offered a polite, embarrassed half-smile and quickly looked down at my screen. A minute later, I heard footsteps. Mind if I sit here? She asked. I looked up, surprised. She pointed to the empty chair across from me. The others are all taken, she added with a teasing tone, even though they weren't. I smiled, gesturing toward the seat. Be my guest. She sat down, took a sip from her mug, and sighed. Lila, she said. You look like someone I wouldn't mind interrupting. We didn't talk about anything deep that day. Just coffee. Weather. The strange guy at the counter who kept asking for room temperature steamed milk. But it was easy. Too easy. And it scared me. Because I wasn't ready. The next day, she was there again. Same table. Same notebook. This time, she waved. I waved back. We didn't talk, just shared space. And it felt safe. That became our rhythm. After 2 weeks of silent company and scattered small talk, she finally asked the question. So what's your story? I laughed. That's a loaded question. I know, she said. That's why I'm asking it. I looked at her, really looked at her. And something inside me said, maybe you can tell it. Just this once. So I did. Not the full version. Not the ugly parts. Just the outline. The betrayal. The silence. The letter. She didn't flinch. Didn't pity me. Just nodded slowly, eyes steady. You know, she said after a moment, I used to think heartbreak was the end of something. It's not. I asked. She shook her head. No. It's the start of becoming someone you wouldn't have been otherwise. We started meeting more often after that. Coffee turned into long walks. Long walks turned into dinners. Dinners turned into laughter that didn't feel forced. And one night, outside that same little coffee shop, she said something I'll never forget. You're still carrying it, you know. The weight of it all. You hide it well, but it's there. I nodded. I don't know how to let it go. You don't have to, she said. You just have to stop feeding it. That night, I went home and opened the drawer. The one with Emily's letter. I held it for a while. Then I took it outside, lit a match, and watched it burn. It wasn't about erasing the past. It was about refusing to let it write my future. It had been 5 months since I left the old life behind. 5 months of coffee shop mornings, long walks with Lila, and finally sleeping through the night without waking up from memories that didn't belong to me anymore. 5 months of being okay again. Not perfect, not fixed, just okay. But things didn't go as planned. I received a letter. Subject, can we talk? Sender, Emily. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't open it. Didn't need to. My first thought wasn't pain. It was anger. She wanted something. They always do. I opened it eventually. Noah, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I didn't know who else to reach out to. I've lost a lot these past few months. My job. My place. Him. He left. Said I had too much baggage. that I was too complicated. I know this isn't your problem, but I don't know where else to go. I keep thinking about everything, about us, about what I ruined. I don't expect you to forgive me or even respond, but I had to try. I miss that. I miss you, Emily. I sat back in my chair and let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. She had finally realized what she'd lost, and now, with nothing left, she wanted a piece of the man she threw away like yesterday's plans. But the thing is, I wasn't that man anymore. I didn't reply. Not that day. Not the next. Instead, I told Lila everything. We were sitting on a bench in the park, leaves falling like confetti around us, the late sun painting her face gold. I expected her to flinch, to pull away, to ask if I still had feelings. She didn't. She listened. Then she smiled, soft and sure, and said, "Let her sit with what she did. She earned it." A week later, Emily sent another email. "You don't have to talk to me. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Really, for everything. You were the best thing in my life, and I treated you like a safety net instead of a person. I kept thinking you'd always be there, that you'd catch me. I never realized you could walk away. But you did, and you never looked back. And that hurts more than anything. Even if you don't respond, I just want you to know. I wish I had been better. I wish I had been more like you." This time I replied. One line. "I hope you find what you're still looking for, but it's not me. Some people will always mistake your kindness for a leash. They think love is a contract that can't be broken, even after they set it on fire. They think you'll come running the moment they remember your worth. But when you finally rebuild yourself, when you finally know who you are again, you stop chasing ghosts. You stop reopening doors. You stop trying to fix what never cared about being whole." Emily didn't reply after that. Maybe she understood. Maybe she didn't. Either way, it didn't matter. I had nothing left to say. And for the first time since the night I stood outside that hotel room, that silence felt like freedom. It was almost a year to the day since she left. Time does strange things to memory. It softens the edges of pain, fades the volume of betrayal. But some things stay sharp no matter how many months pass. I hadn't heard anything from Emily. After my one-line reply to her email, the last thread between us had gone slack, and I was fine with that. I'd moved forward. Lila and I had built something slow, real, and honest. I wasn't rushing anything, but for the first time since the storm, I had something worth protecting again, something quiet and safe. So when I opened my front door one Saturday morning and saw her standing there, I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel longing. I felt nothing, just surprise. And maybe, in some way, confirmation that I had truly let go. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just emotionally, like someone who had shrunk under the weight of her own choices. She had a folder in her hand, eyes red, no makeup, no smile. "Noah," she said. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. She blinked, startled. Maybe she thought I'd invite her in, that some part of me would still open the door wide, out of habit. But that man didn't live here anymore. "What are you doing here, Emily?" I asked. She swallowed, held up the folder. "I thought you deserved this." Inside were documents. A written statement, typed, describing everything. The timeline, the affair, the lies, the manipulation. It was meticulous. She had signed it at the bottom. "I wrote this for your peace," she said, "in case you ever needed to clear your name. If anyone ever doubted your side of things, you can show them this." I looked at the folder, then at her. "You could have told them the truth a year ago," I said. "I wasn't ready to face what I did. And now I've lost everything," she whispered. And I realized the one person who deserved an apology never really got one. She stood there in silence, waiting, not just for forgiveness, but for absolution. And I couldn't give it to her. Not because I hated her, but because I had nothing left to offer her. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give someone because they ask. It's a thing that grows slowly inside you, if it grows at all. I nodded slowly. "Thank you for this," I said. I wanted to own what I did. "Finally," she said, and I believed her. But that didn't change the fact that she was a chapter one had already closed. She turned to leave, but paused. "One last thing," she said, her voice breaking. I hope she never has to go through what I put you through." She didn't say Lila's name, didn't even know who she was, but she knew someone had taken her place. I looked her in the eyes. "She won't," I said, "because I won't let her." Emily walked away, and I stood there, alone in the quiet street, holding the last confession of a woman I no longer loved. The last apology from a ghost I had finally stopped chasing. It didn't bring relief. It didn't erase what happened. I used to think closure came when someone said they were sorry. when they finally admitted the truth, when they owned the pain they caused and begged for forgiveness. But I learned something far more honest. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. From the day you stop needing their apology to feel whole. It's been over a year now. The old life feels like a photograph, familiar but distant. People ask me sometimes, if I could go back, would I change anything? And the truth is, I wouldn't. Because pain taught me what comfort never could. It taught me how to listen to my instincts, how to guard my peace, how to recognize when someone's hands are holding you, but their heart is somewhere else. More importantly, it taught me how to see myself clearly. For a long time, I was just a reflection in someone else's story, reacting, bending, shrinking to fit what they needed. But now, I write my own story. No one else holds the pen. Lila and I never rushed. She knew I came with scars, and she didn't try to fix them. She just sat with me while they healed. The way love should be, quiet, steady, unflinching. We moved in together last spring. Nothing flashy, just a 2-bedroom place with 2 mini bookshelves and not enough closet space. We cook together, read on the couch in silence, laugh at dumb inside jokes that no one else would understand. And sometimes, she'll catch me staring, not out of sadness, but gratitude. Because I remember where I was. And I know where I am now. Emily, last I heard, she moved away. New job, new city, a quiet life, from what I'm told. I don't think of her often, but when I do, I don't feel anger anymore, just distance. Like remembering the name of a street you don't drive down anymore. She was a storm, but even storms pass. So no, this isn't a story about heartbreak. It's not a story about betrayal or revenge or even loss. It's a story about transformation, about how sometimes the worst thing that ever happens to you becomes the exact thing that shapes you into the person you were always meant to be.